provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is Tuesday, April the 2nd, 2024, and this is program number 1155 of the Lunchroom, and I'm your host, Alex George Jr. Now, in addition to radio on 101.1 FM, you can get us at our website. It is rcisaintlucia.com, and we're also streaming live on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International, and of course, be sure to like and share that link, please, with your friends and family. And speaking about friends and family, some birthday greetings today. Going out first to Mrs. Norma Cherry Favre. Happy birthday to you, Norma, and wishing you an absolutely wonderful and fantastic birthday celebration. Also sending birthday greetings out to Mrs. Esther Bryce. Happy birthday to you, and wishing you all the very best, Mrs. Bryce, on your very special day. And also celebrating her birthday today as well is Miss Louise Leonti. Happy birthday to you, and we do hope that you're having a wonderful birthday as well. Now, a bit of history for today. Looking at the date, April the 2nd, in 1801, during the Napoleonic Wars, the British, led by Horatio Nelson, destroyed the Danish fleet in what was known as the Battle of Copenhagen. In 1902, on this day, the Electric Theater, as it was called, was the first full-time movie theater in the United States, and that opened in Los Angeles in California. 1917, on this day, saw the United States President Woodrow Wilson asking the U.S. Congress to declare war against Germany. In the year 1930, on this day, Rastafari Makonnen was proclaimed Emperor Haile Selassie of Abyssinia, or of Ethiopia, on this day in 1930. 1982, on this day, saw several thousand Argentine troops invading and seizing the Falkland Islands from the United Kingdom. And in 2020, on this day, a record 6.6 million Americans filed for unemployment in the last week, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, and that was 10 million filings over a period of 2 weeks. We now move on to our dish of the day. The Daily Dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grozile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, happy Tuesday, happy Easter to everyone. And we do hope that you had a very blessed and enjoyable Easter holiday. And for a number of students right now, of course, and also teachers, they'll be happy because they are out on their Easter break, and so certainly they will be enjoying that as they head into the third and final term, and as well, no doubt, for a number of students who are preparing for their examinations. Many of them start this month and into the month of May as well. So those doing their external examinations, CXCs, CAPE and CSEC examinations, they of course will be preparing for that. And so we do hope that they're utilizing the Easter break as best as possible. Of course, a bit of a relief for the motoring public, no doubt about it, as with school being out, a bit of a break in terms of the traffic congestion, and that of course is always welcome. And so I know very many people look forward to the Easter and Christmas and summer holidays because of that too. They can perhaps stay in bed a little longer and take the chance of getting to work still on time. And of course, we've been seeing the challenges with respect to traffic congestion in our island, a small island like ours, and quite often visitors who come here are really amazed at how much congestion can in fact exist in such a small place. But certainly, yes, you do, as a result of course, many different things, limited roads that we have, and route options, and of course, the way we've developed a very linear approach to development across in the Northwest Corridor, and we of course have seen a fair bit of traffic, and of course the measures being attempted over the years to be able to try to reduce on that. Unfortunately, one of the main challenges that policy makers face is that perhaps when the property values were much cheaper, especially in the 1970s, when before the massive exodus and growth in the north of the island, unfortunately there was not enough land take to ensure sufficient rights of way for future meaningful future expansion of the highway. And so certainly a lot of encroachment as well from a planning perspective, buildings being put way too close to the roadside, and so that certainly has been one of the major constraints in the conversation towards the future widening of roads, providing greater capacity, in particular to that main artery that connects the capital city to its most prominent suburban town, that of Grosley. And so it therefore means that future road works quite often will require acquisition of property to enable any kind of meaningful road widening. In fact, I think sometime back in the 2000s, when there was a plan that had been developed by a German engineering consultancy called Dewey, they were looking at, of course, upgrading the highway. And at that time, even back as far as 2001, based on the volume of traffic, even then, they were suggesting that you really needed like a 6-lane highway to be able to accommodate the amount of traffic that was being experienced and would continue to be experienced over time. Of course, that is not feasible because, of course, that would require a tremendous amount of property acquisition and building demolition and what have you. And so, of course, a more feasible approach has been put forward, and that is creating a dual carriageway with 2 lanes in either direction, and trying to ensure that you've got your dedicated junctions tackled by measures that would increase the capacity of those junctions. And one of those, of course, originally when Dewey was looking at it, they were actually looking at the potential to do grade separate junctions. So in what that would have meant is introducing flyovers or underpasses to be able to ensure the free flow of traffic on the main artery, and so there would not be these points where you've got to slow down. And that's the challenge with junctions usually, is that they require you to slow down. In some instances, they require you to come to an absolute stop and to wait for a very long time. And that, of course, leads to queuing. And so, therefore, you've got the backup of traffic as a result of that. Now, in almost most instances where you got these types of junctions, I mean, that's why you've got a lot of discussion about whether you should use a signal junction, which of course would usually mean that you're splitting the use of that common space to vehicles, depending on who has right of way at each time. And so that, of course, will need, as we said, to a certain amount of capacity to go through. We used to have that, and you'd recall junctions like VG, as well as Marisil at one point as well, had signalized junctions, traffic lights, and those over time were in fact removed. There's in fact even a school of thought in some places now, like coming out of the Netherlands and Denmark, that sometimes people can actually negotiate through the what seems to be a lot of confusion. They will negotiate that and manage time better by not having signals, by not having traffic lights, and so that's one theory that has become popular in some parts of the world, and so they've in fact reduced on the number of traffic lights. But of course, in very complex junctions, that becomes very messy, and so having to signalize junctions becomes certainly recommended. Of course, the introduction of roundabouts has also been a trend that we have seen a lot more, one would say, in some European countries, in particular in England and in France. The use of roundabouts is very popular. Not so much in other parts of Europe, actually. In the case of the Scandinavian countries and Germany and Denmark, they're still very much not keen on the use of roundabouts. And certainly the same is for the United States of America, where as a junction method, it still sometimes faces opposition from the average American driver, who is still more comfortable utilizing a signalized junction where they've got to stop and wait for the lights. And so what they then do as an approach is that they just add on more lanes. And so sometimes you have 2 lanes for turning in one direction, and another 2 lanes to turn left, 2 lanes to turn right, and maybe 2 or 3 lanes going straight. So that, of course, is possible where you've got lots of space, and that is the approach that tends to be very popular in the United States. But it's also changing there too, and so you're finding the adoption of roundabouts as a means of managing junctions being utilized a lot more. Certainly, even in places where there was some opposition and hesitation towards them. Of course, it is a shift in what is expected, and of course, for many people, even in the United States of America, they will tell you that roundabouts are confusing, and they're not often are accepted, and so certainly it is a challenge to allow them and more to be seen as the transport engineers are trying more to introduce them in some places. So the cultural shift is one that takes some time. In the case of St. Lucia, we've seen more and more the adoption of roundabouts. Perhaps we're not yet to the point of other neighboring islands, like in the case of Barbados, for instance, where they are still more widely used than here in St. Lucia. But perhaps over time, you are going to see even greater use of roundabouts as the preferred junctions. They are cheaper than grade separate junctions, but of course, it does mean that you are going to have a slower rate of traffic, so to speak, as opposed to those grade separate junctions where you just continue driving on, and if you are getting off, you got to take a slip lane, and you go off onto another road, and so that onto another ramp, and then to the road. So that approach is a more costly one because it requires the construction of bridges and these ramps and a lot more earthworks, a lot more structures to be built as opposed to roundabouts, and so in terms of that aspect of it, it's a more cost effective approach to dealing with these types of urban environments that we're seeing right about now. And so we've seen fairly well the implementation of that in the case of the Castries-Grosley Highway between VG Junction and the Shock Junction, and with a 3 roundabout system and allowing for turns around those roundabouts, U-turns there, that has worked pretty well. And so if the design logic is to follow, certainly in the expansion of that north, one would expect that you would find a similar approach being utilized with your major junctions, major secondary roads being serviced through having those roundabouts in those general locations. Of course, the challenge that exists, especially along that section north of Marisol in particular, is the immense number of junctions that exist, and many of these roads which come onto that highway, in fact, have no other alternatives. One way in, one way out. A lot of them are cul-de-sacs, and so it then means that they've got to access the highway to be able to get anywhere. And you can just think of the number of roads, like the Marisol Road, the Bonaire Road, the Eastwinds Road, the Tuya Road. You just go down the line, and you find that that's the situation that exists. So it certainly will require potentially not just measures on the main artery, but also seeing how those situations can potentially be improved, because in the long run, if you've got any sort of emergency or accident, you are really depending on this one road to be able to get out, and that can be problematic. So it's something to think about as well for the planners moving forward. But certainly that approach needs to come sooner rather than later. And I think no doubt we would hopefully be hearing something coming out of the budget statement later on in April about the status moving forward regarding the Castries-Grosley Highway, or the Sir Julian Hunt Highway, and the necessary upgrades that need to be done. Because the sad reality is that anything short of that is perhaps not really going to make much of a dent in terms of the overall traffic situation. Of course, we've witnessed quite a lot of discussion about mini roundabouts of late, and that, of course, is a completely different, not completely different, but you still have some, rules of the roundabout applying, but there are also some variations to that as well. And so the need for public education is needed. Certainly should have already happened, and perhaps the Ministry of Infrastructure is behind the curve on this one in terms of the public education. But one of the critical elements of mini roundabouts is that you're not allowed to do a full U-turn. You can't go 180 degrees around it. And that's usually because it's very tight to begin with, and so it's not recommended that you do so. And of course, one of the big questions you'll be asking, well, what's some of the differences between a roundabout and a mini roundabout, and those are of course really important in this context too, to explain that. And one of them is that, well, obviously the size, and mini roundabouts are almost everything below a diameter, an inscribed circular diameter of 28 meters across, would be considered a mini roundabout. So that's the maximum, really. Beyond that, we're talking about a roundabout. The islands in the center, that space in the center, is usually not raised. So, and that's because it's small, and it's expected that you will have some vehicles which will not be able to maneuver because of the tightness of the curve, and so of course articulated vehicles, large buses, lorries, heavy goods vehicles, container trucks, they would not be able to make that turn, and it's expected that they would be able to ride that central island. That central island as well, it has to be a minimum of 4 meters. But the reality of roundabouts is that they actually slow down traffic, right? And it's a physical structure. And if you think about even the roundabouts that we have currently, that's the whole point of it. There's an island in the center which you are expected to slow down to approach. And modern roundabouts as well will incorporate deflection islands. So that causes you to as well slow down, so that there's a point where you've got to come to some level of a stop at that junction. So that is again specified under design standards. And leaving the roundabout, you're expected to actually be able to take up some speed. So generally, the radius is a little bit more generous there as you're leaving. But that's the idea. You're supposed to come to a stop or to give way to traffic coming from your right, of course, in our circumstances, as we drive on the left. So that therefore means that with all roundabouts, that's the a bit of a principle that you're applying here, that traffic is slowing down. So as to normal roundabouts, you tend to have a fairly larger diameter, right? And that of course allows for generally a greater speed on the roundabout. So the wider you go, the larger your roundabout gets, the greater the diameter, the design speed goes up. So again, for most of them would be designed for somewhere around 30 miles per hour on the roundabout itself. For the case of mini roundabouts, again, they're expected generally to be in relatively low speed environments. So that's certainly a design consideration, and they generally don't work very well. They can't do more than maximum 4 legs, optimally maybe 3, and definitely not 5. So that is something to consider in the placement of mini roundabout options. So perhaps the approach that could be taken from the Ministry of Infrastructure point of view is that maybe we should be looking to see, well, what are some of the points on secondary roads that they could potentially be introduced And so then there's that opportunity to get a greater familiarity with them by the motoring public in the long term, because of course they are used in some applications in some situations around the world, and they are becoming more popular, particularly in junctions where you have the potential for a lot of accidents, and the potential where one set of traffic is finding difficulty getting onto a major road. So in a number of T-junction situations where the a less priority road is connecting with a priority road, and then so therefore you want to be able to allow for more opportunity for the individuals coming onto that major road to be able to get onto that road safer. And so you want to slow down the traffic on the road that has priority. That tends to be the situation there. And in those types of environments, it helps in terms of traffic curbing and slowing down the traffic, as well as in preventing accidents. Well, as to whether that may be what is being intended for the Julian Hunt Highway, well, we'll have to see. But as of now, that's probably is going to be the impact, that you're going to have a slowing down of traffic. Not necessarily what you may be looking to achieve in this case in terms of trying to reduce on traffic congestion. So definitely not all the time do certain measures have their intended impact. And so hopefully this will be an opportunity, a bit of a trial, so I suppose, to see how it pans out. But let's hope that there's a willingness to be flexible about those approaches as well as we move forward. But as I said, the really important aspect is the significant upgrade that is required of that arterial road, which we pretty much all depend on, whether we live in the north or not. You may be simply just heading up north for shopping or for leisure or whatever the case may be, and you have a meeting, an event, and you've got to end up on that road. And so it's a vital artery for us, and so let's hope that in the year ahead that it gets the requisite attention. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we're going to take in our weather report, and we'll then head to the phone lines.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses, Juguzi Lanes, and Slack Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Island Style's annual Easter clearance sale is here, and boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tires to be had with discounts of up to 30% off store-wide. Buy all we have in the low stock model and watch your discount skyrocket with a huge 50% off. Plus, get chip edge tires for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on toilet tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom in Castries, Rodney Bay, or Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453-TILE. That's 8453. Sale ends holiday Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
That's what, of course, on 1.1. It's now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talamba. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the east, northeast, and east near 20 miles per hour or 31 kilometers per hour. The weather fair sky is becoming cloudy at times with a few showers. And there is an advisory in here which reads that small craft operators and sea beavers are advised to exercise caution due to above normal seas. And the forecast for the Lesser Antilles, fair skies becoming cloudy at times with some scattered showers. The weather summary: moderate northeasterly to easterly winds will continue across the eastern Caribbean region during the next few days. Weak unstable condition will cause some cloudy periods with showers over the Lesser Antilles during the next 24 hours. And this was a weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talamba.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style's annual Easter clearance sale is here, and boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tires to be had with discounts of up to 30% off store-wide. Buy all we have in the low stock model and watch your discounts skyrocket with a huge 50% off. Plus, get chip edge tires for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on toilet tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom in Cash Street, Rodney Bay, or Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. That's 8453. Sale ends holiday Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today. It is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. You also have the option of messaging in via WhatsApp platform. That is 724-0008. Again, that number is 724-0008. And we were, of course, talking about the bit of a reprieve that we were getting from schools being out, and of course, the situation of the perennial traffic congestion on the Julian R. Hunt, Cashrews Grosley Highway, and of course, the recent measure of a mini roundabout being introduced in the vicinity of S&S Bois de Ouage. Let's go to the phone lines at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, caller. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How was your Easter, your long Easter weekend? You had with your family?
It was quite restful. It was quite enjoyable. Quite good indeed. Thanks very much for asking.
That's good to hear.
And how was yours?
Yeah, mine was okay. I had some nice acro from some friend.
Oh, okay. That's what you had on Good Friday, I guess. Yes.
Yes, it was nice.
Wonderful.
We found they're trying to do in health now with universal health care and all sorts of things being put in place. I'm listening to something on Loop News where this lady actually had a doctor to come and do a private call.
Okay.
And then the doctor happened to be masturbating in front of the lady. Yes, this is on. I think even the minister made a statement where they know like things like that. Don't be afraid to report and all sorts of things. But I'm saying, I mean, when so much is trying to be done in life, you are going to make a visit at somebody's home, and you're doing that to the person.
Quite a disgusting and unfortunate situation. Yes, it's on Loop News. In fact, it's interesting that you're raising so because you know, and this is the nature of I suppose our society sometimes, and maybe it's a reflection of our literacy too at this point. But you know, a lot of people saw that article and then somehow they just saw the picture of Minister Baptiste and then they saw, I guess maybe they just saw the word sexual allegations or something like that, and they just figured, it was something to do with him. No, I'm telling you, and I mean, so it's interesting because I know sometimes we say people don't even read they only read the headlines, but we're seeing that they don't even read the headlines because the headlines were clear in terms of talking about a doctor involved, and so. Here, yes. It's unfortunate that we are facing this type of situation involving a medical practitioner, an allegation against this medical practitioner, and yeah, I mean, that is the thing, caller. We have to, I mean, in terms of standards and being careful about all of these matters. It happens all around the world, and it's something that we have to be vigilant about. Here in terms of proper code of conduct when it comes to not just medical practitioners but
all policemen,
professionals, persons who are providing services to the public. Definitely.
Because someone was telling me this morning, how will I feel now going to, if I have to go to a doctor because of what I say? I will have no problem going to a doctor because I have gone to doctors, and most doctors I have gone to is a male gynecologist. That's what I've seen when I gave birth to my daughter and everything. And every single one of them were very, very professional. So I cannot let what one or two bad apples do to prevent you from seeking medical care.
Definitely not.
At the end of the day, all of them are not. They have some that really do things to make it impossible for the people to even trust other doctors, and that is not right. And I think something should really be done about it, because you cannot tell me you're going, and it's not a young person I was telling you, it's a matured woman whom he went to. And for him to do that, what happened? You don't have a wife, you don't have a woman in your life. You're hungry, sir.
Well, we don't really know all the circumstances, and I don't know either what in fact transpired. But of course, the matter needs to be properly investigated.
Yes.
And of course, certainly appropriate action needs to be taken in this situation. Definitely. Yes. So let's hope that is in fact done.
Okay. And because the Carrie Fester, I think. Although we got only 2 medals. 2
medals, a bronze and a gold.
2 Nobel laureates, 2 airports, everything is 2, so we only got 2 medals. But the swimming in, I think, the Bahamas, they did very, very, very well. I think they got like 7 goals or something, but I was listening to the medal cards. They did so well in the swimming, but in the Carrie Festa games, they did not do that good. In fact, places like Jamaica got 84 medals.
Yes, an astounding number. I think followed by the Bahamas.
35.
Yes. Trinidad, I think, came in.
And Grenada with 14. And that was expected because the games were being held in Grenada. But apart from that, it's like Guyana, Barbados. Guyana was just 8. Barbados was just 6. Antigua 4, and I'm not sure if Belize and a couple. It's like
2.
Really did not do that well. Yeah, but I don't know if it.
Well, the dominance of the Jamaicans is astounding, and
because they have Jamaica, Bahamas. That was expected. That was expected from Jamaica, Bahamas, and Trinidad.
Yeah, well, let's hope that we can get up there at some point, and it shows that we have got a ways to go in terms of the athletics in particular, and our programming surrounding that.
Terry Finister was a commentator, and I like to say that he did a very good job commentating.
He always does, certainly.
Very good job.
One of the best that we have. So kudos to him, and of course kudos to the participants, the athletes, their coaches, their parents, their support teams.
They gave it their best, but when you have people out, it's a lot stronger. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, and that's also certainly, I mean, especially the swimming fraternity in St. Lucia. We've seen a tremendous growth in that section. That's in the aquatic section. And so let's certainly give our flowers to a number of those who've been working in that field for a very long time. In particular, we have to thank the Worrell family, Dr. Deanne Worrell and her husband, who came in and made that investment of that 25-meter pool at Rodney Bay, and certainly we've seen the benefits of that
But the 50
opportunity.
meters on track, of course. The pool.
Yes, so there's a plan on constructing a national aquatic center.
Yes, I heard it should be in start. Although they have break ground, they said, so it should be completed by, I think, I heard the Minister of Sport said, should be.
Well, this is not the first time. You know, there was an earlier attempt, remember, at
But it was squashed.
at the National Aquatic Center.
But it was squashed.
And
That's government.
So let's hope that it is achieved. But it of course it needs to be the programming is what's critical about these things. I mean, it's one thing to have the infrastructure, but it's to have the programming surrounding it and to ensure that you're getting good utility.
I need to ask you one question. When the buildings were broke down, they broke down the buildings at St. Jude's. Did they break down the church that the Catholic Church built at St. Jude's? Was that broken down also?
Well, there was a church a chapel which was being
the chapel.
constructed.
Lots of money was put by the Catholic Church to build that chapel, you know.
No, it was not broken down. It's still incomplete. It was under construction. I know there were certain things that were purchased for the building as well, because there was originally a chapel, but I think it was just a part of a room or something in the main part of the main wings. But then there was this distinct building which was constructed.
Because I heard the Minister of Health, which is from for North, said that the chapel that was built for the St. Joseph was broken down.
Not that I'm aware of. No, it wasn't broken down. The building is still there. So as you drive up, as you entering the compound on the right hand side, that building there was the building designated as a chapel, or was being built as a chapel. But like I said, it was never completed. It still has to be completed, and I think it was being used for storage or something of the sort, for maybe building materials, if I remember correctly. But it's still there and can be completed.
Because I remember when they were built after the fire, and they were rebuilding, the Catholic Church had put lots of money to build the chapel even bigger.
So it is certainly a much larger chapel than what was originally existing at St. Jude. So yes, so it I think it's about almost 4,000 square feet, I think, or something of the sort, maybe in that region. So yes, no, maybe not so large, maybe about 3,000 square feet. But it was certainly much larger than what was existing before.
Okay then.
All right then, caller. Thanks very much for that call and that question there about St. Jude Hospital. That is also one of those very critical projects that we are all hoping to see completed here in St. Lucia. Of course, there's been a lot of back and forth over the years, and I believe it is now at the point of that whole process of tendering. The government is going the route of going through the normal processes regarding this construction phase, and let's hope that we can see that finally completed soon enough. And of course, that is that's a really important component, finishing the buildings themselves and fitting them out, and in fact actually commissioning. That also requires not just the buildings, but certainly the systems, the manpower, the procedures. All of those things have to be properly put in place for the proper maintenance and running of that space as a medical facility. So it of course will have to in fact involve that of the St. Jude Hospital administration at this time, as they're moving towards actual occupation and use of that space. One of the victims of the fire, incidentally, of course, has been the athletics community, and they have not been able to fully utilize the complex that was built for athletics out of the George Odlum National Stadium. The spaces inside of there have largely been utilized by St. Jude Hospital since 2009. Originally the West Wing only, but then they also took over use of the East Wing, and so they really have not been able to potentially grow. I think we also do need to potentially consider the establishment of a track, an athletics track in the north of the island too. That would be useful, no doubt, for a number of the athletes as well in that area. Not necessarily to put in a stadium, but certainly just having a facility where they can in fact practice and train, and that would certainly be useful as well to ensure that there's a good balancing out. Originally, remember, the plan was to ensure that we had a national sports center in the north of the island, around Beauséjour, and then of course the other national sports center in the south of the island, around the Saint-Hubert, Beauséjour area as well, to be able to accommodate those different sporting pursuits. And there are a lot of other sporting fraternities which are looking to ensure that they can in fact have their dedicated sports facilities as well. I know one of them is the Cycling Association. They've been certainly clamoring for a velodrome for some time. And of course, I think we've been seeing some of the initiatives that they've been putting on of late, trying to promote cycling, especially, having to have safer cycling experiences around the world, around St. Lucia. And we've seen the challenges of that because we don't have dedicated lanes for cycling, or dedicated routes for cycling. And if we are, of course, also going to be speaking about, how do we change the situation of congestion on our roads, the matter of alternative forms of transport should also be within that mix as well. And we've seen that has become certainly a lot more popular around the world. In particular, of course, we know the countries that have taken on this in a very, very big way. The leaders being that of the Netherlands and Denmark, and also Germany now. But we're seeing around the world this push towards providing dedicated cycling infrastructure as being a part of the mix, because the reality is it takes up less space. It is better for our health as well, and it improves, until it reduces on congestion, and it's good for the environment as well. So that push towards cycling infrastructure is also and should also be part of the long-term shift towards a cleaner, greener, healthier St. Lucia, and certainly from the perspective of better transport alternatives. Of course, it's not too safe as it is right now. When we look at trying to negotiate, trying to ride on some of the very same spaces where you've got vehicles moving at fast speeds, as quite often can be pretty hazardous for cyclists on the road. And so it is certainly something that should be conceptualized as well. And let's face it, it's also something that's happening to improve on tourism, as in many parts of the world. Cycling tours are becoming very, very popular. People want to be able to go around and move about, and so using bicycles is one of those options that you're seeing. And so That's also already a reality here when we're looking at the number of people who are coming and off cruise ships, and they're going on these cycling tours, and we're seeing them on our roads. And so that is yet again another plus, in fact, if we in fact had the kind of infrastructure to support that kind of mobility around our island. Now, of course, we don't have very much time left, but I did want to note one individual's passing, and he was somebody who actually came to St. Lucia some time back and was part of the efforts at trying to assist in the conservation of the St. Lucia parrot, and his name is Louis Gossett Jr., and he recently passed, according to the BBC. He was, in fact, the first black man to win a supporting actor role in the Oscars. Just to very quickly share that story with you. Louis Gossett Jr., the first black man to win the Best Supporting Actor Oscar, has died at the age of 87. The New York-born actor won the Academy Award in 1982 for his role as Gunnery Sergeant Emile Foley in An Officer and a Gentleman. Gossett also won an Emmy in 1978 for his role in Roots, the groundbreaking TV miniseries about slavery. His death was confirmed by his family to the BBC's US partner CBS. No cause of death was given. Gossett made his Broadway debut as a teenager and later starred in shows such as A Raisin in the Sun and Golden Boy. He went on to gain a critical acclaim across a 6-decade career. Gossett continued acting into later life, and his last role was in the 2023 musical remake of The Color Purple. In the film, a reimagining of Alice Walker's 1982 Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, he played Old Mr. Johnson, father of Albert Mr. Johnson, played by Coleman Domingo. Writing on Instagram, Domingo called him a true great, a true legend. What an honor to have been able to give him his flowers on his last day of his final film, The Color Purple, where he played my father, he wrote. Fantasia sang its best. He ran his race for us. We are forever indebted. May we stand firmly on his shoulders. Lift him up today. Rest in peace. Barrino, who played lead character Celie in the film, also wrote, Louis Gossett Jr., what an awesome man you were, and the stories you told us I'll never ever forget. She added that he had paved the way for black actors and actresses. Gossett also starred in Black Stairs at the White House, The Story of Satchel Paige, The Josephine Baker Story, for which he won a Golden Globe, and Roots Revisited. He also starred in the cult 1980s science fiction film Enemy Mine as the alien Jariba Shigan, alongside Dennis Quaid. And that there, noting the passing of Louis Gossett Jr., the first black man to win a supporting actor at the Oscars, on his passing at the age of 87. As I mentioned, he was in fact part of efforts through a documentary that had been produced in collaboration with Paul Butler, a British-born environmentalist, conservationist, who came to the Caribbean, and in particular came to St. Lucia, and became enamored with the island, and became very good friends with local conservator and conservationist and forester Gabriel Coco Charles, who of course was served as the chief forestry officer for a number of years here in St. Lucia, and the efforts at effectively pulling back the St. Lucia parrot, Jacko, from extinction. And a very interesting video. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to actually share that part regarding St. Lucia. We'll try to do that maybe tomorrow. But going back to a bit of memory lane and looking at the efforts that were very much part of the 1980s in particular, and trying to change things around for the national bird of St. Lucia, and changing the mindsets towards conservation, and a great deal of effort certainly to these gentlemen and the others who were working out in the field and going around the schools and doing that public education campaign, so that today one can quite likely even see could say that the range of the St. Lucia parrot has certainly expanded. It is becoming far more prevalent, and no doubt the population is way beyond what it had become. I think as low as 150 parrots that were in fact left in the wild in the 1970s, and so certainly we can, thanks to them, have seen an ascendancy regarding this part of our avifauna, fauna, this part of our national heritage. So thanks to Louis Gossett Jr. and of course Paul Butler and many others, like Gabriel Coco Charles, who guided and inspired them, and who of course are continuing to perhaps look on from the great beyond and hope that we can continue to do more in this regard. That's our dish of the day, and that's our program for today. In fact, my apologies. And we do hope that you can join us again tomorrow for another program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Take care.